Today on Weekend Welder, we're going to continue our introduction to welding by showing you how to make a couple of simple shop aids. Hi, I'm Ben McCall, the Weekend Welder. Welcome to our continuation of an introduction to welding. Last time we covered the basics of selecting a work area and job site safety. We then showed you a basic arc welder and we made our first project, this boot scraper. Today we're going to continue working with some basic materials like these. Along the way we're going to make some simple shop aids that will help you make your projects. For today's project, we're going to be using our vise, our hacksaw, and our 1-inch belt sander. Of course, we've got some clamps to hold the vise down to the table, we've got our safety glasses, and we've got our cloth gloves for handling materials. We used the 1-inch belt sander in our last project, but we really didn't tell you that much about it. One of the reasons we selected the 1-inch belt sander to be one of our core tools is it is something that has quite a few uses around the house. It's not a machine that's just dedicated to welding. This one's fairly simple. It's got the 1-inch belt over here. It's also got a 5-inch disc over here. The tables on it are adjustable, so if you want to do some angle grinding, you can do that. This one also has this cute little miter gauge in case you want to do something at an angle. One task we're almost always doing is cleaning up the ends of something we've cut. The lower half of the belt has backing behind it, the upper half doesn't. If you want to get something fairly square, you can use the bottom half. If you want to round it off a little bit, use the upper half. Some other tasks that you can do with the belt sander are putting a point on a fairly large piece of steel or grinding the edge off a continuous piece of flat bar. We're about ready to start our project. There's one more thing we have to do before we do. Last time we were primarily welding on 3/16" plate, about 6 inches wide. For that we had our welder set on 85 amps. Today we're going to be welding much smaller pieces, so before we get started we're going to reset to 45 amps. One of the tasks that we have to accomplish in almost every project is squaring up two pieces of material. It's important that we get it right the first time because once the weld is made, it's difficult, if not impossible, to make any adjustments. We've got a frame square and a speed square, both of which are great for working with wood, but have their limitations when working with metal. The two shop aids that we're going to make are what we call an inside square and an upright square. The advantage of the inside square is it's very easy to snug some metal up against this raised edge. You can clamp the work to it if necessary, and you can even put your work clamp to it to ground out and complete your welding circuit. Our upright square is identical in the lower part. We've added this one other upright piece for a time when we want to add a leg to something. This way we've got square in 3 different directions. Makes it very easy to get a weld and get it in the right place. Now to make our inside square, we started with a 36-inch piece of 1-inch angle. We used our hacksaw to cut the piece in two. And then we used our frame square to set the two pieces square. We then made our first weld, checked to make sure everything was still square, and finished it out. To finish out our inside square, we've drilled some holes in it in case we ever wanted to screw it down to the table to hold it in place. Our upright square we did in a very similar fashion. We used 1.5 inch angle for this to give us a little bit more height here and a larger corner over here. To make our upright square, we cut two 18-inch pieces and one 12-inch piece. We used our inside square to square it up and weld it together just like we did before. We then used our frame square to set the upright in position and weld it. We'll use our inside square to help us make the shelves for our plant stand, and then we'll be using the upright square to help us attach the legs.
Weekend Welder is part of the YouTube channel of 8FD Designs in Decatur, Texas. If you're interested in more of this content, subscribe to our channel and watch some of our other videos. 8FD Designs operates out of 32,000 square feet of buildings on 3.5 acres in Decatur, Texas. If you're interested in our markets, our store, our classroom, or taking a look at our various workshops, come and see us in Decatur, Texas.